Well, we're at our usual place and thought I'd give the radiator a test run, so we thought we could come to Rutland Water. Touch wood, the radiator, there's a bit of wood. Touch wood, the radiator seems to be okay, but there seems something strange with the van. It's not performing right. You know, when you get this gut feeling something's wrong, I've got that feeling. And we had a job to move the van, and I wasn't sure where the brake was stuck on, but then it's just like the engine was lacking power. And I don't know, I've got this horrible feeling that there's something wrong with the gearbox. So I'm whittling a bit, but I'm going to go for a walk, and if we end up having to get towed home, we do. Well, we managed to park at Sykes Lane. It was open this time, and Jane made the coffee, didn't you?
No.
What did you do then?
I went and had one at the shop.
Yeah, what happened to my cake?
I ate half of it.
Yeah, that's mine, yours then. And we're walking to Whitwell, and I've got to dip my hand in my pocket, and I think I'm going to be paying for us to go on the boat. Here comes the Rutland Belle, and that's hopefully what we're going to go on.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard the Rutland Belle, sailing on Rutland Water, one of Europe's largest man-made reservoirs. Our cruise today will take us around the main area of the reservoir, firstly heading down towards the dam, then across to Normanton Church, over into the South Arm to see the Sailing Club, and then finally return here to the North Arm. As we go round, we'll point out some of the things of interest and tell you a little about them. Now, probably the most important thing I'll tell you all afternoon is the bar's open. Yay! Selling teas, coffees, soft drinks, a range of beers and spirits, and a selection of gins and tonics. Now, if you do require anything from the bar, John is our crewman today. He'll be wandering around the vessel. Just give him a wave or a shout and he'll be more than happy to take your orders and bring your drinks to you. So just to give you a brief introduction to the history of the reservoir, it was conceived in the mid-1960s when the then Anglian Water Authority forecast a rise in demand for water, and in order to meet that demand had to build a storage supply reservoir. They looked at a total of between 80 and 90 sites in the region before this one here in Rutland was finally decided upon. Now, there were two main reasons for that decision. Firstly, the ground on which the reservoir is constructed is a very heavy clay, which obviously has good water retention qualities. Secondly, the dam they had to build across the valley was not overly large in comparison to the amount of water they could store behind it. The work started on the construction of the dam in 1970 and was completed in 1975. It then took a further 3 years to fill with water, and by 1978 Rutland Water became operational. Now, over the next 15 years or so, the demand for water never rose as forecasted, with the result that Rutland Water never met its full potential. That, of course, has all altered over recent years with very dry summers and demand for water increasing substantially. Now, it may be of interest that the Anglian Water region, which extends from the River Humber in the north to the River Thames in the south, is the second driest region in the country, and yet has only had 1/10 hosepipe ban. So that gives you a brief introduction to the history of the reservoir, and I'll make something else up when we get a little nearer towards the dam. The far side of the dam has a grass slope, and this side a stone wave wall. The dam is 2/3 of a mile long. It stands 140 feet high, and being a clay structure, is about half a mile thick at the base. The small building at the far end of the dam is the main draw-off tower, through which water is abstracted from the reservoir and pumped to the treatment works at Wing, before distribution to the Milton Keynes, Northampton, Peterborough and Lincoln areas. Water is pumped into the reservoir from the River Nene at Wansford and the River Welland at Tinwell through a network of underground pipes. Most of the pumping takes place over the winter period when there is a plentiful supply of water, and the reservoir is usually full in April or May.
I see they're putting oxygen into the...
Out on our right hand side, standing in the centre of the reservoir, you'll see a tower. Now that is the limnological tower. It contains scientific equipment that is used to automatically monitor the quality of water at various depths. The tower itself stands in 110 feet of water, and monitoring takes place at 6 different levels. One of the measurements taken is the oxygen content in the water, and that does tend to vary, especially during the summer. So corrective action has to be taken by injecting compressed air into the water at a low level to aerate it. It's a similar principle to which you would find in a home aquarium, but on a very much larger scale. Now, some of you may well be aware that Rutland Water is well known for its translocation projects, namely the Osprey project being the most successful one of those. Now the next one's happening in this area right now, and it's to help aerate the water. So if you look out to the right hand side of the boat, slightly in front of us, you'll see a patch of turbulence on the surface. You'll see it, but down there's an animal called morag, and morag's Nessie's cousin. That's right, we've got one. Now, just to give you some idea of how big morag is, if you look out to the left hand side of the boat, you'll see another patch of turbulence. That's the other end of her. Behind the house with 4 chimneys is the site of the old Normanton Hall. Normanton Hall was created during the 1700s by Sir Gilbert Heathcote, who retired to Rutland after a distinguished career as a merchant, founder of the Bank of England, and Lord Mayor of London. It was at this time the village of Normanton was demolished and the people rehoused in Empingham. The hall stood until 1925, when the estate was sold and the building demolished. The stone was taken away and reused to build the property known as the White House at Stratton near Leicester. There are, however, 2 buildings that remain. Directly out to our left, in amongst the trees, you will see the old stable block, which has now been converted to the Normanton Park Hotel. The other building, which has become the major landmark of the reservoir, is Normanton Church, just coming up on our left-hand side. The Church of St Matthew was the family church and mausoleum of the Heathcote family. It was deconsecrated in 1970 when the reservoir was first planned, and preserved by the Normanton Tower Trust. It now holds civil weddings and concerts. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're approaching Normanton landing stage. For those of you who are leaving us here, I hope you've enjoyed your cruise with us today aboard the Rutland Belle, and hopefully we'll see you sometime in the near future. For those of you who are wishing to return to Whitwell, you can either remain seated and continue with your cruise in a few moments' time, or you have the option of going ashore here for a minimum of an hour and catching one of the next return trips, which depart this landing stage at 20 past the hour, the last return trip departing at 20 past 3. If you do decide to leave us here, you will need to collect a boarding pass, and they'll be made available by a member of crew who will be adjacent to the exit. For those of you wishing to leave us here, if you could make your way to the lower saloon, ready to disembark. Out on our left-hand side now is Normanton Leisure Area. The building on the shore houses a restaurant and a fishing lodge. Rutland Water is one of the country's top trout fisheries, with something in the order of 70,000 fish released into the reservoir each year. They are a mixture of brown trout and rainbow trout. The young trout are bred in hatcheries, mainly in Devon. They are brought here by road tanker and released into the reservoir, weighing about 2 pounds and measuring approximately 16 inches in length. The anglers have the choice of fishing from the shores of the reservoir or from one of the 65 dinghies available for hire. Out on our left-hand side now is Rutland Sailing Club. This is one of the largest inland sailing clubs in the country, with approaching 1,000 members and a great variety of craft based there. On the same site as the sailing club is a professional sailing school, where tuition is available for all sorts of craft, from small dinghies to larger cruisers. Also based at the sailing club is the charitable organisation called Rutland Sailability. They have a fleet of specially constructed dinghies that can be sailed by people with disabilities. Stretching away to our left is the south arm of the reservoir. This is the larger arm of the two and extends some 5 miles down. Rutland Water is basically a horseshoe shape, with a total shoreline length of about 24 miles and a surface area of water approximately 3,100 acres. At the far end of the south arm is a large nature reserve, with 2 centres, one at Egerton, the other at Linden. Covering an area of over 1,000 acres, the reserve was created during construction of the reservoir and managed on behalf of Water by the Leicestershire and Rutland Wildlife Trust. Every August, the nature reserve hosts the British Birdwatching Fair. Rutland Water has 11 lagoons and 9 miles of shore, which can be viewed from more than 30 heights. It is one of the most important wildfowl sanctuaries in Europe, being a special protection area, a site of special scientific interest, and under the terms of the Ramsar Convention, is designated as a globally important wetland. There are regularly in excess of 20,000 waterfowl of up to 40 species. Records show that overall, some 250 different species of birds enjoy the water and the attractive woods, meadows and hedgerows that also offer a habitat for a variety of wildflowers and butterflies. Rutland Water is now well known for the Rutland Osprey project. These fish-eating birds of prey have not bred in England for over 150 years, until a specially licensed 6-year programme of 64 chicks from Scotland to be reared here and released into the wild. Reservoir, or you can book on one of our very special Osprey cruises. For more information, you are recommended to visit the Birdwatching Centre Eggleton or the Visitor Centre at Linden.
It's a bit windy for the camera, isn't it, when you get the wind on?
Yeah, I think it might be.
Yeah. I don't know, does it?
ideal for those wishing to learn to sail or windsurf. Rutland Water's latest addition is the Aqua Park, which is the largest park of its type in the UK. The Aqua Park is open from the end of May to the end of September. For more information, please visit their website, aquaparkrutland.co.uk. Other facilities at Whitwell are the Harbour Bar Cafe and Restaurant and the Cycle Hire Centre. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, we are returning to Whitwell Harbour. For those of you who are leaving us here, I hope you've enjoyed your cruise with us today aboard the Rutland Belle, and hopefully we'll see you sometime in the near future. For those of you who are wishing to return to Normanton, please remain seated and we'll continue with your cruise in approximately 10 minutes at 2 o'clock.